Welcome back. I'm Bill Brown, your Bible guy for Advent, and it is now the fourth Sunday of Advent. The candle on this Sunday is the candle of love. And as we read from 1 John, God is love. How did we get here theologically to make such a claim near the end of the Bible? So our theme for this Sunday is, who is God? Really? And there is a foundational text in the Old Testament that tries to capture most fully who God is. It is the central confession of God featured in Exodus 34, verses 6 to 7. Now, Moses had asked God to show him God's glory, and God conceded, but only halfway. God allowed Moses to see God's backside while passing before him on the mountain. But what is most revealing of God is what God says during this passing of glory. And so we read in Exodus 34, the Lord, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness, keeping steadfast love for the 1,000th generation, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, yet by no means clearing the guilty, but visiting the iniquity of the parents upon the children and the children's children to the 3rd and the 4th generation. That repeated phrase, steadfast love, is chesed in Hebrew. And again, that's repeated twice in this central confession. And as testimony to how fundamental this confession is, there are numerous variations of this statement throughout the Old Testament. And here's a list. Now, we won't be looking at all of them for this Sunday's session. I don't treat every passage in my chapter either, but we will take a look at a few of them. And we begin with Jonah and Nahum, who say opposite things about God, both drawing from the central confession. We will look at how these prophets add, subtract, and revise their conceptions of who God is, each one in their own context. And we will also address the part about God punishing children and the children's children to the 3rd and 4th generation. This actually becomes a hot issue of debate in the Old Testament, as you will find out. And we'll also address the question whether God changes. Does God change? Now, the Westminster Confession of Faith is unambiguous on this issue. It says there is but only one living and true God who is infinite in being and perfection, a most pure spirit, invisible, without body, without parts or passions, immutable, immense, eternal, incomprehensible, and the list goes on. But the key word here is immutable, unchanging. But I'm here to tell you the biblical witness is more complicated than that. And you will discover in this study on what occasions God does change God's mind, beginning with Jonah. And you may perhaps discover a constancy in the way God changes, a theological paradox, always good for discussion. So, let the dialogues begin in the spirit of love, inspired by the God of love on this final Sunday of Advent. All in all, I hope this study in 4 parts, corresponding to the 4 Sundays of Advent, will give you a greater appreciation of Scripture's rich diversity, and in so doing, enrich you with greater theological wisdom and openness to dialogue with the Bible and with your community, that is, with each other. May it be a time of rebirth, a rebirth of inquiry in the spirit of hope, peace, joy, and love as we all await the coming of Christ in this season of Advent. Let the dialogues continue.